Hi, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Starting week 2 now of our homeschool experience, so hope everybody's doing okay. Today we're going to learn a little bit about stem cells. Our book mentions a few things about them, but I really think that the research that's going on and the future of what stem cells hold for us it's really, really important, and I think you need to know a little bit more so that when you read or you hear about stem cells, you have a little bit better foundation. So we're going to learn a little bit about stem cells today, and this is a basic introduction. So stem cells, there are basically 4 kinds. Embryonic stem cells are the ones that you hear the most about because they're the ones that present a little bit of controversy. So we'll talk about those. They were first discovered in the late 90s, and so that wasn't very long ago, and we're still learning an awful lot about them. Adult stem cells, also recognized about 50 years ago. Not too much known about them at the time. Still learning, again, more and more about them. Cancer stem cells we won't talk about today. We will investigate those a little bit further down the line. And then induced pluripotent stem cells are the new kids on the block when we're talking about stem cells. These are not naturally found, these are actually created, thus the word induced. We induce their appearance, and these were discovered after years of research in 2006, 2007 by a Japanese scientist named Shinya Yamanaka, who at the University of Kyoto in Japan was looking for an answer to his patients that had spinal cord injuries. So that's how that came about, and he did win the Nobel Prize for the discovery of these cells in 2012. To just define what these types of stem cells are, totipotent is a word that is in the last section of this chapter, and it's a little more difficult to understand. Totipotent just simply means total potential. These are cells that have the total potential not to just make cells that belong to the organism, but also the structures that support, protect, nourish the embryo as it develops. So it has the capability of becoming any cell in the organism, along with the cells that make up the umbilicus and the placenta. So the only place you're going to find all of these structures and the cells that make them are in a fertilized ovum. Pluripotent stem cells means plural potential. These are our embryonic stem cells. They are undifferentiated. That means they have not received any instructions, and they can become any kind of cell that makes up whatever organism is being studied. In humans, that would mean that an embryonic stem cell could be programmed with the right signals to become any of the 220 different kinds of cells that make up our bodies. That's why they are sought. That's why they are valuable. Multipotent stem cells, this means multiple potential. They don't have total potential, but they have multiple potential. These cells are adult stem cells. That's kind of a misnomer because you don't just find them in adults. These are stem cells that you find in everyone, and they have received a few instructions. They can become many of those 220 types of cells. 4 different cell types emerge from embryonic stem cells and become adult stem cells. So there are 4 types of adult stem cells. Hemopoietic stem cells can become any kind of cell that is involved in the making of your blood. So not just red blood cells and white blood cells, but there are lots of different parts to blood, and hemopoietic stem cells can create all of them, including the bone marrow that creates them. Mesenchymal stem cells are the cells that produce muscle and bone and cartilage, all connective tissues, your heart, your blood vessels, many, many different kinds of things. Another kind of adult stem cell are endodermal cells, and they produce basically your internal organs, your liver, your stomach, your spleen, your pancreas, your lungs. So your internal organs. And then the fourth kind of adult stem cell are neural stem cells, and they produce all types of neurons. The ones that make up your brain and your spinal cord are scattered literally all throughout your body, and including your skin, which is a major sense organ containing an awful lot of neurons. So 4 classes of adult stem cells. Then we come down to final specialization, where cells receive their complete set of instructions, and these cells are unipotent, meaning one, they have single potential. They can become one thing and one thing only, and they have a very specific job to do. So these are your skin cells. These are your muscle cells, your liver cells, your bone cells. They are completely specialized for one function, and they can only do that. You cannot ask a skin cell to do what a muscle cell does. You can't ask a muscle cell to do what a liver cell does. Every type of cell is very specific, and they all work together to carry out all the functions of the body, but they can only produce cells through the process of mitosis that are exactly like themselves. So those are your 4 kinds of stem cells. You have the totipotent cells in a fertilized ovum. You have embryonic stem cells that have received 0 instructions. You have your multipotent stem cells that have received a few instructions, and then you have your unipotent stem cells or your somatic cells. Soma means body, so these are your body cells, and they are completely specialized. The hierarchy of your stem cells is what this diagram illustrates, going all the way from totipotent to pluripotent to multipotent to unipotent. If you follow the arrows, you can see that it indicates that this looks like it's going to be a one-way street. A cell that is pluripotent differentiates to become adult stem cells. Adult stem cells receive more instructions to become unipotent somatic cells. So until Shinya Yamanaka did his work, we believed this to be a one-way street. But as I said, he was looking for an answer for his paraplegic patients with their spinal cord injuries. There just has to be something out there, a way that we can help these people. And in looking at cells, he was thinking, every single cell in your body has the exact same DNA. So how are they different? How is a skin cell different from a nerve cell if they have the same DNA? In looking how they work, well, DNA has, we've talked about, thousands of genes, and all of these genes are not expressed in every cell all the time. So there must be certain genes in that DNA that tell a skin cell how to be a skin cell. If we can figure out how to control those genes, like a light switch, if those genes are turned on, the skin cell's a skin cell. But what will happen if we can turn those genes off? And Shinya Yamanaka studied for years, and he found the signals. There are 4 proteins that regulate what genes are flipped on and which ones are flipped off, which ones are expressed, which ones are not expressed. And he found that if you can take a skin cell and turn off the genes that are instructing it on how to be a skin cell, you can take that skin cell backwards to its pluripotent state. So those arrows that you see in this diagram, they can go backwards. We can take a cell back and de-differentiate it to its pluripotent state. And that's what induced pluripotent stem cells are, that 4th class of stem cell. This is the work that he won the Nobel Prize for in the year 2012. and the potential for using these cells, creating these cells, and using them in not only just studying, but in therapies. That's the future. That's the future for us. And there are diseases that we have now that you will see go away if we learn how to use these cells in the right way. So that's a basic introduction of the 4 different types of stem cells. And tomorrow we'll go through a few more pieces of information that I really think it's important for you to know. So you have a list of terms that I want you to define and understand. Please go ahead and start working on those. And if you have any questions over what was discussed in this PowerPoint, let me know. Have a good day.